Hey guys, my name is Manjunath and welcome to Docker Basics series. In this series, we are going to learn how we can get started with Docker and learn about containers, images, and how to deploy our application using Docker. Especially when you are learning Docker, it's important to deploy whatever the application you are developing using Docker so that you will be familiar with how to use it for your language. That's why let's get started. First, you have to go to docker.com so that you can get Docker's required tool for installation. Once you get into this particular page, you can download it for whichever the operating system you are using. I'm on Windows, so I have to download this particular Windows .exe. But if you are on some other operating system, you can download it for that. Once you have downloaded it, go to get started, and in this particular page you can find instruction for Mac and Windows and Linux. If you go to Windows section, you will see what and all minimum requirement it requires in your system in order to make sure Docker runs properly. If you are having like latest laptop with latest updates available in Windows updates, then I don't think you will face any problem to follow this tutorial. But if you're on older system, you might need to upgrade it, maybe hardware, maybe even software update. Once you have make sure like the version you are having is correct in this particular page, you have to install something called as WSL2. Installing WSL2 is very easy if you are on Windows 11 or even Windows 10. You have to go to something called as PowerShell. If you search PowerShell, you will get it. PowerShell is nothing but it's one terminal. So once you search for it, you can run it as administrator and it will ask for permission. Once it's done, you can just type WSL -- install. Once you run this particular command, it will install all the required tools for the Docker, and it will ask you to create user name and some password. You have to just type it. After it will restart it by itself. Once all setup of this thing is done, go ahead with the downloaded file from here and install it. It's just next. It's very easy to install. Then once you have installed, just make sure you search for git bash if you are on Windows and download this particular terminal. Once you have downloaded this particular terminal, we can run Docker commands easily, same as how we run in Linux or Mac. That's why if you are on Linux or Mac, you don't need to worry about installing this particular thing. Use whatever the default shell which is available in your laptop or computer. So once you have installed and once Docker is set up properly, you just have to open the Docker by searching for it. Docker desktop, and once you open this particular thing, it will come in this particular system tray where you can download it. Once you have downloaded it, it will run here. Once it's running on your system, you can start to work on with the Docker. Open up any terminal in your system, PowerShell if you're on Windows 11, or git bash also is fine if you followed the instruction to download the git bash. Then once you are in this particular page, you just have to, let me just close it. Okay, so in this particular page, we can see if Docker is installed properly and it's running fine. Just type Docker version. It will show whether Docker is installed properly or not. If you're facing any error in this particular command, that means your installation didn't go through and you have to fix some installation bug whichever it's facing. So once you are able to see this particular command, we can get started with Docker. So first command I want you to run is docker container run hello world. Once you have ran this particular command, it will start doing some magic. But don't worry about it. I'll teach you each and everything in it. And it is saying now hello from Docker. If you are seeing this particular thing, that means Docker is completely installed in your system and we are able to follow this particular tutorial and we'll learn Docker in this series. So that's it for this video, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and see you on the next video. Bye bye. So in last video, we were able to install Docker and we ran this particular project. So if you are noticing it here properly, when we ran this particular command, it said unable to find image hello world locally, latest pulling from library / hello world. That means it downloaded image from somewhere. So where do you think it downloaded the image from? Let's figure it out by going to browser. Let me just close all this installation thing, and you have to go to one website named hub.docker.com, and in this particular page we can find all the images which are available in Docker. So we can just search for hello world and it will show up the official image which we ran. In order to install this particular image, we can just write docker pull hello world, or if we are running the command whatever we ran that time, it's going to pull it by itself and we can run this particular image. So if you want to know what is image is just blueprint of whatever the container which you are going to create. So this particular hello world image created the container which displayed this particular message. So whenever we ran this particular command, that is docker container run hello world, it actually took blueprint from this image and it created one container and it showed the message. So let's just try to understand some of the Docker commands which we'll be using everywhere. So first command I want you to learn is docker container ls. It will show all the images which are currently running. At the moment no image is running, so it is giving us empty result. But if we just type docker container ls -a, it will show all the containers which are not currently running but it might have ran. So this particular hello world container ran so that this particular message got displayed. That's why this image information exists if you type -a, if we add this particular flag. So now let's just try to get some images. The images which we require now is we can try to pull something like Nginx. Nginx is a web server. So if we go to this particular page, it will show us exactly what we have to pull. That is what command we have to write, docker pull Nginx. So let's just try that particular thing, docker pull Nginx. And when we write this particular command, it will just pull the latest image available in dockerhub. It might take a while depending upon your internet connection and your system speed, but once it downloaded, it will show up in this particular command, that is docker image ls. When we type this particular command, it will list down all the images which are currently installed on our system. So whenever you create new container, it don't have to download it. It will be already present in your system. It will have name of that particular image, then tag which will be latest or any kind of version which you want to specifically install, and it will have image ID and its size also is available in this particular list command. So let me just install another image. Maybe you want to install Ubuntu. So we can also get Ubuntu, same command, docker pull Ubuntu. Let me just try that also, docker pull Ubuntu. It will just pull latest Ubuntu image from dockerhub. It will not have entire Ubuntu itself. It will have just core file which is required by Ubuntu for running certain things so that you can install your application. Just think of Docker as one tool where you can run whatever the application you want to run. For example, Nodejs, PHP, Python, whatever the tools which you want to run. it will run it in this particular Ubuntu operating system, meaning you will be installing whatever the tools which you have to install in this particular container using this image. So we'll know about it in upcoming tutorials, but you can create container using this particular image whenever you need, and we'll do that in next video. So that's all for this video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and see you soon in next video. Hi guys, my name is Manjunath, and in last video we have learned how to get images from dockerhub. In this particular video we are going to learn what is container and how to run a container. Just think of container is a process. It's a very lightweight process using which you can run your application. It needs blueprint, that is this image, and whenever we run the container, it will be using some image to run it. So that's why we need to get the image whenever we need to install it. If we don't have images when we are creating container, then it's going to pull it from dockerhub and we'll be able to use it. So let me just create first container in this particular tutorial. You can create container easily by using similar commands like how we pulled the image, that is docker container run minus it -- name. We can give our image any name we want. So I'll be running Ubuntu container, that's why I'll name it as my Ubuntu. Let me just get the spelling proper. Okay, and you have to type the name of the image which you need, that is Ubuntu. That's the name which is available here, that is Ubuntu. So let me just go through whatever I have typed. Docker container run means it will create and run that particular container. IT means interactively, meaning we will be able to communicate with the container when we are running it. If we don't put IT, then it will just run it and we won't be able to use it. And name will be name of the container which we are going to create. It will be very useful if you put the name so that we can easily stop it, destroy it. So this is the name of the image. So if I just click on enter, it will go through and it will just run the container. See how fast it ran this particular container. I just clicked enter and immediately it gave me the console from the container. So this is the Ubuntu. This is not my Windows operating system. It will have almost core of Ubuntu. That's why you can't find much information in this particular page. But if I just type who, will not have like all these commands, but you can just list down directory and you can even go to root and you can see something is available in let's just say lib. So in this particular folder you will have like all the things which are available in Ubuntu. So let me just try apt command, apt update. Okay, see, it is actually updating the system and it's downloading it from Ubuntu's repository. So that means Ubuntu image is installed and it's actually currently running. So let me just cancel it because it's not required for us to learn Docker. If you are like using Ubuntu, you can just update it and you can install whatever the things you want to install whenever you are using Ubuntu. So let me just exit it. When I exit it, let me just see if the container is stopped or it's running. So in order to see that, docker container ls. So if I type, it is not showing that it's running, but if I just type -a, then it will show that it actually ran, that is exited 19 seconds ago. Now let's just try to install something which is useful. Ubuntu is actually like something which is for system administrators and all. So now let's try to run something interesting. That is, we'll run nginx container. If you are web developer, you know there is something called as nginx, which is web server, using which we can run our HTML and CSS and all the other web files. So let me just try to create that particular container, and in order to create it, it's same as before, docker container run, and last time we typed it, That means interactively we were able to interact it using command line. Now let me just type -d, means detached, meaning it will run it in the background and we'll be able to close this particular terminal and we'll be able to still access nginx running container. So let me just run it in -d, and we have to map a port using -p, and we'll map it to 8000, and in the container it will be port 80. Just try to understand this. 8000 is the port name of your computer, meaning if you are going to website and you are going to access it, you have to access it in 8000 port, and 80 is the default port of the container. In nginx image, that is blueprint of nginx, will have port 80 as default. In different images this will be different, but in nginx it's port 80. That's why we are able to access it in 8000 when we map it to 80. You can change this particular port, but this, in order to change this particular port, there will be some customization which we'll be doing later. But now let me just name my container as a dash name, and we can name it anything. I'll name it as my nginx, and it will need name of the image which will be used for making this particular container. So let me just press enter and it will create it. Once we have created it, we can just see if it is running by typing docker container ls. Now you can see it's actually running, and you will see some of the information. It will say that it's running on 80, port 80, that is TCP on the container. And if I just make it little bit big, you will be able to see it better. It is running on port 8000 on my local system and in port 80 of the container. Let me just go to localhost colon 8000 and let me see if nginx is accessible. So here it is, the nginx default web page. We'll be changing it in next video, but let's just try to understand that it's actually ran this particular container and it's actually running it, so that even if I close this particular terminal, it will be still working. So let me just try to show you how we can delete this particular image. In order to delete a container, we need to stop it. So docker container stop, and we can give the name of the container, that is my nginx. And once we run this particular command, it will just show my nginx. That's the name of the command. And again, if we run docker container ls, it will show that it's not running. Now we can remove this particular container if we don't require it. That is docker container and rm my nginx. It will remove the container, and now it won't be accessible through -a command also. So here also we can't see it. We can only see ubuntu and hello world command which we ran in previous video. So that's it for this particular video, guys, and in next video we'll know how to customize this particular page and we can access it. At the moment, if we refresh it, it's not going to work and it will give error that it can't be reached, because we stopped the container and we also deleted it. If you like this particular video, don't forget to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Hello guys, my name is Manjunath, and in last video we ran some containers, that is nginx, and in this particular video, enough with the theory part, and let's just try to build something using docker. So you just have to go to any kind of folder in your system, and let me just create a new folder here, and I'll name it as my website. And in my website, I'll be creating one simple HTML document, and you can use whatever the editor you are using. I'll be using VS Code, so I have to right click and show more and open with the code. If you don't have Visual Studio installed, Visual Studio Code installed, you can use any kind of editor which you have it installed, or you can go to Visual Studio Code and download it also. It's freely available. So let me just create one basic HTML document, and in VS Code, if I just type exclamatory and if I just press enter, it will just print out the basic HTML tags. And in this particular title, I will change it to docker nginx website, and in here I'll just put my name, Manjunath Shanai. You put your name in your system when you are trying it out, and I'll just create one paragraph saying hello from Docker Nginx image, and let me just save it. And now you have to run it. Usually if you are using HTML, you can directly double click on this particular file and you can access it, or you can even like go live using live server if you are using Visual Studio Code. But we are using Docker, so we have to do everything in Docker way. So let me just open up terminal in this particular folder. You can just type here terminal and click on new terminal. In this particular terminal, I can run same commands which I was running here. So you can also use this particular integrated terminal, so that we'll be having little bit better experience when we are working with the actual coding project. Let me go here and create one file. We'll name it as Docker file without any kind of capitalization or anything. If you just type Docker file and press enter, it will open up this particular file. Like how we wrote here certain things, we can write it in here only. That while we are creating image, like that's the custom image, we have to define blueprint by ourselves only. And whenever we are creating blueprint, we can use existing blueprint. For example, in this particular container, we just need to update this particular website. So we can use existing Nginx image only. So we just have to type from, and we can type Nginx, that is the Nginx image, and we just have to type latest, so that it will get the latest image. And from Nginx, we want to move this particular file into the container, so that we can just type copy, and source will be just ./index.html, and in the destination container, it will be user/share/nginx/html. Don't think I'm too smart because I know this particular thing by heart. I just went to dockerhub and I just typed here nginx, and in this particular page we'll be able to see some information related to Nginx. And from which place? Yeah, from here I got this particular line which I typed here. And if we just save this particular thing, that's enough for us to create our own custom image. So let me just type some docker command in order to create our custom image. This is the first image we will be creating using Docker. So just a little bit attention here. Docker build dot. We have to name this particular image, and we can give whatever the name which we want. I'll just type my custom Nginx, so that I'll know that it's my custom Nginx, not somebody else's Nginx. So I'll just click on enter and it will create the image. It will just copy all the required Nginx image, and it will just copy the index.html from it, and it will paste it in this particular folder of container. And now we can create our own custom image using this particular thing. So let me just do docker image ls, so that we can see whether this custom image is available. So this custom image is available, and it just got created 27 seconds ago. That is when we ran this particular command. So let me just create the new container using that image. It will be same as like how you were creating that time. Docker container run dash d. Will run it in detached mode, meaning it will run in background, and we can give port, any port we can give from our local machine, and in the server it will be just in the container it will be port 80 only. We won't change it, and we can name this particular thing anything. We can name it as my website, and it will be using custom Nginx image. So we have to give this particular name, that is my custom Nginx, or whatever the name which you have given, my custom Nginx. And if I just click enter, it will run the custom image. How do we know that it actually ran and will show this particular file? We just have to go to port 5000. Before that, let me just see if it is running or not. Docker container ls, and it will show that this particular image is running with the port 5000, and it will be pointed to containers port 80, that is nginx default port. So we just have to go to localhost colon 5000, and as whatever the name you have written, it will be shown here, and it's coming from docker's nginx image. That is the custom nginx image which we have created right now. So that's it for this video, guys. In next video we are going to run one custom Nodejs image, so that you can get started with your any Nodejs project. So that's all for this video, and see you on the next video. Bye bye. Hi guys, my name is Manjunath, and in last video we created this amazing nginx image, and we have customized it so that we can add some of our information in default HTML page. In this video we are going to create one custom Node.js website. If you don't know Node.js, it's not a problem. There are so many tutorials in my channel as well as other people's channel for Node.js. In this particular project I'll be creating it very easily, so you can refer it. So we can type any name. I'll just type it as my Node.js website, and as always you have to open it in VS Code by right clicking it and open with code, and it will open up Visual Studio Code. And let me just create some things using Node.js before getting started with the Docker part of it. Just type npm init. Just make sure you have Node.js installed. If you're not having Node.js installed, that's absolutely fine. You just have to follow instruction whatever I'm saying. But before that, let me just type enter. Okay, fine. So it created something called as packet.json, and I'll just put a link of repository. So if you are not having Node.js installed on your system, you just copy paste whatever files it creates. So let me just install another package using Node.js, that is npm install express. So all these are Node.js projects. So if you are familiar with Node.js, so you know what's happening here. If you're not familiar with Node.js, then absolutely fine. I'll just give entire repository link itself so that you can run it. It created node modules folder and packet lock.json. Once it got created, we need to run it. Now just imagine I don't have Node.js installed, so obviously I can't run it. In order, before running it, let me just create one simple Node.js project. Const express is equal to require express. That's the package which we installed right now, and we can name it as app so that we can access its instance. If you are not understanding anything, that's absolutely fine here. Let me just complete it. App.listen port 3000, and let me just print one log message saying server started. App.get slash request response and res.send hello from Node.js. Okay, so I quickly created one Node.js file, and this creates one Node.js express server, and it will run it on port 3000, and it will say that server started, and in the front end it will just show hello from Node.js. If you don't understand anything, that's absolutely fine. I'm saying it again and again because you don't have to worry much, because you will be learning how to develop all this application when you are learning it. But I'm teaching Docker in this particular series, so I have to skip certain things in this particular thing. So let me just create Docker file as usual, without any kind of extra space or anything like that. Type docker file, and in this particular project we need to write little bit more code in order to make sure this particular file is actually running. So let me just type from node, that is the blueprint of image which we require in order to create our own custom image. I'll just type it as node colon, and we can type any kind of number also, that is the version number. You can go to dockerhub and you can search whatever the version number you need to put as per your project requirement. I'll just type node so that we can get node's official image, and so many versions are available for node, that is node alpha in 3.15, that is node 19 alpha in 3.15, and so many others also available. I'll just use default node 16 image, and just understand that we need to create one folder in container, like how we created this my Nodejs website. So in order to create that particular thing and in order to switch us to that particular directory, we just type a work dir and just type whatever the name you want to type. I'll just type it as app. That's usual convention which we will be using. So once we have created this particular thing, we just want a certain file from this particular thing or a folder from this particular thing to go to the container. So let me just type a copy app.js to /. That will copy it to this particular folder, because whatever we type here, it will be under this particular folder in the container. So before copying that particular thing, let me just copy package.json first to the server, that is the container. So I just copied package.json to the container, then I copied app.js to the container. Once we copy it, just we need to run some command which we ran here, which I ran, which you might not have ran, because I said like you don't need to run it because we are using Docker. So we'll just type run and it will run npm install. That is, it will install all the dependency that is required by this particular project, which is not much. It will just install the express and its dependency. So once we have installed that particular thing, we need to, so we'll have to run some command in order to run this particular project. So we'll just type that particular command, and we'll type npm node, not npm, just type node, and we'll type node app.js, so that it will run this particular project whenever this container gets started. And we need to expose some port so that it will work whenever this 3000 port is used in the container. It will expose that particular port so that we can access it on the website. So once we type it this much thing, that's enough. We can create the container. Like we can, let me just clear it. We can create the container here. Before creating it, we have to build the image. So docker build current folder, that is this particular folder's docker file will get created. So t my node.js, we'll just name it as my node.js, so that we'll be able to access when we are creating the container. That my node.js will be the name of the image. So let me just click on enter, and it will copy paste all the required blueprint, and it will even copy app.js and package.json also. So that took a while to create in my system. In yours, it might take hardly 1 or 2 minutes if your system is slow. If it is fast, then it will get created in less than 1 minute. So once it got created, we can find whether it's present in our system or not by typing docker image ls. And if we type, it will show my node.js, which was created 25 seconds ago. And it will show its size also. So let me just create container using this particular image. Creating container, which we learned in previous video also, docker run -it. Let me just run it as interactive mode this time. And if you type -d, then it will run it in background. So in interactive mode, we will be running, and the port which will be mapping is 3000, and even the server's port is also exposed in 3000 only. So we'll type 3000 colon 3000. Once we type this particular thing, we can name the image. We'll name it as my Nodejs website, and we have to use this custom my Nodejs image. So just type my Node.js, and if I just press enter, it will okay. So I did mistake here. It needs to be dash dash name. So if I just type enter, it will just say server started. That's the command which I wrote here whenever server getting started. So without delay, let me just go to localhost colon 3000. It will just show hello from Node.js. That means your Node.js project actually ran from Docker. I have a Node.js installed, but even if you didn't have Node.js installed on your system, this command would have run because Docker actually installed Node.js from dockerhub, and it made us run this particular commands and our Node.js project in its container. If I stop it, it might not work. So we have to stop it like how we stopped other container by typing docker ps, by going to another terminal and typing docker container ls, and here we can see two of the containers which we have created in our previous as well as this project, and we'll just type docker stop my Node.js website, and if I stop it, it will stop the container. It might take while for stopping such a big container that is the Node.js, but it will stop it. So let me just try to see whether it actually removed it or not. So yeah, it stopped it, and let me just stop even that my website container which we created in previous project. Docker stop my website, and once we stop this particular container, nothing is running in this particular system. So that's it for this Docker basic series, guys. And if you like this kind of videos, don't forget to hit like on that like button in YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe me also. And if you want to see more related to Docker, just put it in the comment, and I'll create new videos related to Docker. So that's it for this video, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.